All right, hi everyone. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm right outside the visitor center for the Little Rock Central High School, which is a historical site that I'm looking forward to checking out. It's the site where in 1957 there were 9 black students who very bravely stood up against segregation. And of course there were thousands of white students that treated them like garbage. But they were brave, and their parents were brave. Like, imagine sending your kid to school every day knowing that they're just going to get persecuted and goodness knows totally bullied, but look how they changed history. So these brave kids, I don't know, it touched my heart when I read about it, and I'm gonna go do the tour. I'm actually in front of the actual high school. It's still open, which is super cool. Can we see the high school there? Yeah, it's in the background. I don't know how many pictures I'm going to be allowed to take or how close I'm going to get to it, but I'm so looking forward to learning about this. And you know, racism isn't dead, unfortunately, but little by little the world is changing, and it's thanks to very brave families like this.
I took a few photos of the plaques on the walls. This one you can read yourself. Great point, too. This one I'll read for you. When 9 Little Rock students headed to high school in 1957, they left behind more than half a century of segregated education and entered a new era of equality. They paid a personal price for their belief in the U.S. Constitution, but their courageous demand for equal rights moved the nation farther along its path of democracy for all. So that's what the exhibit is all about. And then, of course, what's happening at Little Rock transcends segregation and integration. This is a question of right against wrong. So true. And this story is about how there were reporters, there were just tons of reporters trying to stick cameras and microphones in everyone's faces. But the reporters ended up getting mauled by the angry crowd. The angry crowd was trying to get to these poor kids, but it was the reporters that took it.
Okay, hi again. Visitor center was incredible. I am across the street from the high school right now. There's a cute little garden area too, so I'm just gonna walk through there. I learned a whole bunch. First of all, it's a national park. It's considered a national park, so they have rangers that are around to answer questions, show you around, whatever. My favorite one was Randy. He is a very helpful, intuitive person. He came up. I was getting really choked up reading about some of the stuff that happened to these people, and you know, putting myself in their shoes and imagining how it felt. And we spoke, and I said, wow, these people were so brave. He's like, everyone says that. Everyone says that, you know, their bravery is what saved us. He goes, it wasn't. Even the 9 students would admit themselves, it wasn't bravery, it was necessity. Stepping out your front door as a black person back in 1957 in Little Rock, Arkansas, required a higher level of bravery than most of us need in our entire lives. So, I mean, that was just commonplace, but they would endure all kinds of persecution, you know, not being allowed to buy things in stores or touch things, or there were some terrible stories. But yeah, it was really just more necessity. At the time, they didn't think of it as brave. They just thought, like, I want to go to school. The only school where I can get a good education is this one. And rather than waiting for the world around them to adapt to them, they adapted. They became strong. They became, you know, they found ways to get into the system. And because television was, you know, this big controversy was sort of put in everyone's faces at the time, this is what gave rise to the Freedom Riders, who were, you know, they fought for civil rights. This was one of the first things that sort of spurred it on with regards to the segregation and the civil rights of colored people and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, again, a thing that I learned from Randy, who was a really insightful park guide. Just want to show these arches here. Those are really cool. He just said, you know, we're talking, and I said, makes me wonder, like, didn't people just, I know that everyone was indoctrinated back then, and all the white people, you know, they'd been raised by racist white people. Didn't they just know deep in their souls that something was wrong? Like, didn't they feel it? And he said, they probably did, but no one else was doing anything about it, so they didn't do anything either. And that brought him to his next point, which was, you know, there are still all kinds of bad things that go on in this world. If you see something that you know is wrong, do something. Even if it doesn't affect you, especially if it doesn't affect you, do something. Don't wait for it to affect you personally. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. How would I feel if that was happening to me? How would I feel if I was one of those poor Black students back in 1957 and I had to go through that every day? Thank God there were freedom riders that fought for these people's rights. Just the right to walk down the street without being attacked or mauled or persecuted or whatever. We take a lot of stuff for granted. So wow, did I ever learn a lot. Probably went on a little bit too long there, but it was overwhelming. It was incredibly insightful. And thanks to these, I'm still going to call them brave, I don't care. Thanks to these strong, brave students, history was changed in Arkansas. All right, so I'm in Texas, in Dallas, in the Dallas area. I actually got a hotel just outside of Dallas because I wanted to make sure that I have parking on site. And I do have that here, so it's great. But still like central enough to everything that I can have a little walk around and see what there is to see. And my one goal for my stay in Texas or in the Dallas area is to find some Texas barbecue and have some real Texas brisket. I don't know if it will compare to Brad's that I had a couple weeks ago. That was the best brisket of my life. But I'm gonna try it and see.